To show up as this goes on. We're going to get started, so unless you guys have any questions, are there any questions before I get started?
The sword?
Excuse me?
How do you hold the sword?
How do I hold the sword? How should everybody hold the sword? Well,
by the foam?
By the foam, yes. This is not
okay, awesome.
So well, let's touch on that real quick there. I mean, I'm going to assume this is supposed to be advanced Florentine, right? So at this point, I'm assuming everybody's got a very good basis on their fundamentals. We're going to work on everything that we can in that regard. This is going to be a lot of one-on-one because everybody's got a different skill set and different experiences. And so here's the kind of inside my thinking regarding what's advanced versus not, right? Any advanced technique, at least in my opinion, is the basics done really, really well. Is a large part of it. And then figuring out what works for you. It's not, I don't have any kind of Chinese mystic, super secret technique that's going to let you win. It's not some kind of 5 palm strike exploding heart technique or anything like that. You're going to actually have to figure a lot of this on your own. See?
2 people gone right there.
There we go, excellent. So, this is advanced Florentine. So as I was saying though, I personally believe that any advanced abilities is really basics done extremely well. Does anybody disagree with that? It's cool, I'm not going to beat the crap out of you. That advanced techniques, advanced Florentine, is really just the basics done very, very well. If you have bad basics, there's no such thing as having bad advanced techniques, or excuse me, good advanced techniques. All right. So the real quick thing is, let's everybody take a fighting stance. Go ahead and get ready. And hold your swords up as you would fight Florentine.
Against what?
Excellent question.
Go for your offside.
How would you do it? How would you start? Knowing nothing else at all.
Am I fighting a righty or a lefty?
Also a good question, but you don't know. You're fighting John Doe. You haven't fought John Doe before. John doesn't even hold weapons yet. So Monkey doesn't have his weapons up, but knowing Monkey in that regard, that's on purpose, I'm sure. It's why waste energy in that sense. Monkey's also got a very shallow stance, but again, until he's aggressing somebody, I suspect that's on purpose. So let's talk about it. That's decent. So generally speaking with the stance, if you know nothing else, you want to have a deep, we're not talking an anchored stance. You want to be flexible, you need to have your knees bent. You don't need to be deep bent, you got to have some flexion. You want to be on the balls of your feet. I'm exaggerating here, obviously. But you need to be weight on your toes. Why do we do that? How so? Why bent knees and why toes? How does that help you move?
If somebody comes up here, you're already sprung to move.
Your legs are your springs. Yeah, your legs are your springs. If your knees are locked, you cannot move. Exactly. If your feet are flat and your legs are locked, and you get attacked, you have to spring up first and then move. You cannot move if your legs are locked like this. It just doesn't work that way. So again, remember your knees bend just a little. Everybody in their stance. I would say you need to bend your knees just a little bit more. Your front knee is a little, there you go. So you're on the balls of your feet. You're wearing almost hakama, so I can't tell, which is good. And you're on the balls of your feet? Good. Okay, so widen your stance. I'm sorry, your name? That? If you're really narrow, you're going to be good at forward and backward movement. And lateral is going to be good attack from the side. Or you have to move laterally. You don't want to be flush. You want to be a little bit spread, about shoulder width. Okay.
But I see a lot of people up.
Does that make sense? Again, it's the basics. It's nothing secret about that. Okay, swords up. I'm not ignoring you.
No, please.
Okay.
Go about your day.
All right, so I would attack here first. If that was a good case. If you're going to roll up and you want to do it, that's fine. If you've got a sword down, you're blocking your back sword by doing that, by starting this way. I have to throw over my sword. My advice would be to bring it up a little. There you go. So now you can just drop that sword if you have to without actually entering the attack.
I was kind of being lazy.
And what does lazy get you?
Well, I mean,
Stabbed.
What does lazy get you though? If you're lazy here, where are you going to be in a fight? Okay, why should I believe you're not going to be not lazy in a fight? I don't follow. If we're walking up, and that's how if we're literally, as you see it, we're at distance, and you take a fighting stance, and that's what you show me. I mean, either I think that you're lazy at this point in time, or may not know, or you're trying to game me. That's at least what I should be. They're all possibilities. But I mean, if you're going to drop that sword there in the first place, you're just going to stand for a locked leg. As soon as you see those legs locked, as soon as you see anybody flat-footed, you attack. Why? They have none. Oh, they have none, or they're out of position. Sorry, what else?
Extra second. It's an
Fine,
extra
yeah.
second.
The advantage is yours. You see them relax and go into just a relaxed lock leg stance. That is literally just as attack. Go. It doesn't matter what style they're fighting. It could be Florentine or sword and board, etc. Make sense? Fighting stance? That's decent in that regard. You've got forward stance and that forward swords. So I looked to go to the outside, but you've got the good ability to need to go out. So remember to bend your knees. So you're doing this a lot in that regard, and obviously a lot of under attack possibilities. So if it works for you, again, if I say anything that really doesn't work for you, you're going to have to make this stuff your own. Nothing I'm saying is set in stone. Despite what other instructors might tell you, there is no one true, perfect way. So you're going to have to actually synthesize this on your own. So get out. So I'd recommend bringing your arms in a little bit, okay? And you can keep your sword down. Cool. That's good. You're leaning forward a lot, but I might actually be on purpose because it's going back in that regard. So your arms are already fairly forward. So if I were straight. Well, you don't necessarily have to straighten the back up. I'd recommend bringing your arms back a little bit too. Not a ton in that regard, but if your arms are already pretty extended, I have a really good sense of what your range is, at least without moving. So the further my arms are out, the more I have to move to close to you. Whereas there's an optical kind of illusion issue going on where if I'm here and I'm closing on you, kind of a thing. The swords don't move, I move. Okay. And then I have a lot more ability to actually, when I close them, I'll be able to close to my arms and further extend my attack. That's my first, at least, observation of that. Yeah. Are you a lefty?
No.
You fight goofy foot normally?
I try to hand match wherever possible.
Okay. Does everybody know what hand matching is? Does anybody not know what hand matching is?
So far out.
And the shot,
anybody else?
The
shot is kind of low like this.
Who would like to demonstrate hand matching?
So come in low. Yes. Well, I brought it up.
Y'all know it, right? I agree. You brought it up. There's one. Who else would like to demonstrate hand matching?
You called me out.
So that's a good shot.
All right, so, I'm sorry, your name? Crix. Crix is going to hand match Monkey. So Monkey is not the one doing the matching, in this case.
Oh, okay.
So you fight your
I was like, what am I doing? I fight left to like most of the time.
Let's do it again. Change. Change again. What's happening?
He's adjusting his stance, so it's
Exactly. Let's stop. So what is hand matching?
like mirroring.
In a sense, what are you mirroring?
You're bringing their foot forward with the opposite side foot.
The foot and, but why is it called hand matching as opposed to foot matching? Yeah, you're putting, yeah, the sword that's forward, you're matching, you're trying to mirror them in a lot of ways. Why does that help? You can. Why do you hand match?
I feel like it gives me an advantage.
How does it give you an advantage? I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm just interacting.
Most of the time people automatically assume that I'm a righty, and they're right. So if I use my left, it gives me more openings. Plus, since most people fight forward and are right-handed, it gives me more shots to throw that are open to me instead of having to move their board.
Right. That's all true. The vast majority of this game, fighters are right-handed. I mean, 80 to 90% are right-hand dominant, and not a lot of lefties in that regard. Florentine is a little hard to read what style, what hand is dominant in that regard. So how do you read, if I'm fighting somebody like this, what am I probably, what is my dominant hand? Probably. Why?
Because it's backward.
Yeah. Usually people put the strong hand back. This is usually your strike hand, right? What else? Explain.
I think because you the way that you're, like you're going to be moving this way.
So from a leg point of view, what advantage do I have being a righty?
You can step.
Yeah. My attack step, my aggressive step is going to be my lunge. Is going to be this, right? That's my strong arm. My strong leg is usually the back leg, usually. And you'll find people that will fight goofy foot a lot. And if they're good at it, they'll fight like a lefty, or they'll look like they're going to fight like a lefty. And then some weird ones will do this. What's this?
Getting stabbed.
Odds are pretty good. But say they're good. Say I'm awesome at this.
Okay.
Right? Say I am. I'm just awesome at this. What am I telling you when we aggress? Let's square up.
I have no clue.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Alright.
I have no clue.
Yeah,
I would bait the stab or stab first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's confusing, is what it is. If you're experienced fighting, you're getting a really mixed signal. I'm fighting with lefty foot, lefty stance, but righty arms. I don't see a lot of people do this very long. This is like a transition.
I would definitely feint a lot and get you to move out of it before I get anything.
So let's demonstrate. And not with a real fight, just kind of slow. So if I'm standing like this and you get successfully getting the bait out, what are you doing?
I would come here first because that's your forward arm. Try to snipe that arm out. And then now my left hand's blocked for your strike with your right if you decided to.
And what does this set you up for?
Step with my left.
Or your right?
Yeah, I could lunge after I bait out, but that's how I'd come out for it, is feint here, step here if you did not swing out.
You want to turn so we can see this thing? You want to do the same thing? Sure. Don't mind. Just hold, right leg forward, left arm up. Right leg forward, left arm up.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little confusing. So if that's what it is, what has Monkey done in this stance if he stayed that way, or if I stayed that way? He squared up to me. Okay. So now the largest possible profile is actually to my advantage. If I'm standing my normal style, especially if I'm fighting righty, in this case. If I can get anything to happen at all, what should Monkey be looking for? What should anybody be looking for?
Stab.
Stab. Where? And from where?
Left hand.
I would stab right personally. Really? Well, left can do this lunge, but now I have no deep. That's me personally. Again, what works. If I were going to try and do something where I would jam this, and this is this giant hook that wants to just go right here. You don't even have to be good at it. Just set the throw. So that's an example of how stance analysis is something that you can actually try to take advantage of. You will not see people do that very often. Don't get me wrong. You're going to see a transition at times. If somebody has to transition and do that, or makes that mistake, you capitalize on it. Yes? No?
Yes.
Make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Let's get back. I'm sorry, I didn't finish the actual stance analysis. And that's how you're going to fight?
Muscle memory, right?
Yeah.
So what should I do?
As you see, I do most of my shots with my left arm anyway.
Or anybody?
Because if you come out...
Approach me
Lock him out.
Sorry. Say again?
I'm just thinking, he's over there.
Well, yeah, what's the worry?
He's gonna,
Yeah, either stab or he's going to bring it up. If he's going to slash, he has to bring it up to slash first in that regard. So that thing's down. So what would you do?
If I have a shield here like this, and you do the fake out
I know this isn't fair, it's your son and all, but
no, it's okay.
So it's
I fight him off.
fake out slide. You got to make it look real. Yeah. Well, I'm going slow, so I
You're getting a stance and then
what do you need to worry about?
he's gonna come and stab me. So
He wants
I'm
to
trying
stab
to,
you,
I'm
yeah.
trying to block that. I'm trying to pull that out.
What if
Maybe not
Florentine?
the best idea, but
Yep. What would you do? Yeah, if you can pin him out, that's a lateral. If you're going to do that, I'd recommend really moving lateral.
Yeah,
And which way would you move? Yeah, why?
because all the dangers are on that side.
Yeah, his pin pan is over here.
Yeah.
And you want to move away from the pin pan. How does that help you moving away, spinning out? Anybody?
Because it's ranging.
Okay, sure. How?
Because like he's gonna have to pivot around to be able to deliver a shot, but I'm coming around him and throwing a shot.
But and if he's going to shoot with his dominant hand, if it is, yeah.
He's not gonna be able to get to me.
Yeah, I call that spinning out.
He was really good about that.
Anything with a lateral movement. Florentine tends to be pretty literal. A lot of fighters tend to be very lateral, or very linear, forward and back. And lateral movements where this game actually starts to really break into some really interesting possibilities. And that's exactly what he's having. Anybody else?
I would try to outspeed him and hit him in the shoulder.
Yeah,
Because
but
he has no shoulder block.
yeah, nothing. Because that sword's down and out slightly. So if it's going to stay that way, and if we're aggressive, if I can do it, and come in here and get inside that, I just have to follow your sword right there. That may work well into what your counter stab in that regard, but now I'm going to try and jam you with this. So it's a chess game. So if it works for you, again, go ahead. I'd recommend bringing that sword up a little bit more. You can keep it down, and bringing this sword in a little bit. And you can bring this sword up. It's a lot more threatening in a weird way, unless you're trying to lure someone in. I don't have a sword, no big deal. But this here is, well, I'm going to stab you if you get very close. And I do not have very far to travel to get it up to the slash at all. And from here you can actually start to turn around. Make sense?
so
You were saying?
I'm just thinking, when I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna come in and chop him. I want to
right.
Do you think that because he's going to be able to just travel?
Well, especially if you're aggressive, he just has to stab in that regard. So if it's a defensive maneuver in that regard, you can be down here, and when say it's dragon lunging at me in that regard, I step back and actually drop it. I just make it further. That's a possibility. That's entirely possible. If that tip is up though, it's a lot more threatening when that tip is pointing towards you than when it's pointing towards the ground, especially for Florentine. What does Florentine hate? Yeah, getting stabbed. Being stabbed. Stabbing's great, but being stabbed is the end all be all of stuff.
Nobody really likes being stabbed.
No, but so why is this is again basics. Why is Florentine so stabbed?
Because this is a defense.
Yeah,
we have two active defenses rather than a passive defense.
Exactly. We have no passive defense whatsoever. I mean, the technique-wise and technology-wise. Florentine has no passive defense for a thrust. It's all passive for slashes, none for thrusting. That's exactly right. So what do you do about it?
There you go.
Walk away.
Evade. There's a lot of that. If you're going to get stabbed, especially from a stab heavy, if you know they want to stab you. So if you have an example, if anybody wants to come up, we're not going to fight. It's just an example. So we're fighting. We've had a couple of engagements. We've had a few engagements, whatever, and I'm fighting like this. I mean, every time I approach this fight, what is this? What do you read?
Stab.
Stab, and not just stab. This is I'm really going to try and stab you.
I'm going to shank you.
Right. Chances are good, yeah. I mean, there's I'm going to stab. There's I'm going to stab, and there's this is coming from another state. Which is just stupid, but still, it happened. It happened, right? And whenever that sword drops back here, it's another thing to watch for in that regard. If you can see it, we're going to be all over the spectrum of this stuff, so this is very organic. There's stab, right? What's this?
I'm going to stab.
What did I just do? Stab.
Hook stab.
Possibly, yeah. What is this going to benefit you?
Power.
You're going to be hurting somebody.
Potentially. My fulcrum just moved up the sword a little. My grip went from, I've got the gloves on so it's hard to see, from a stylized kind of grip, from an ergonomic grip, which is like fingers forward, to a baseball grip. How does that help?
It'll be harder to carry out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot harder to move this sword out of the way now that I've got this baseball grip. I lose a lot of technique on any kind of lateral movement out of this. My finesse is gone, but it's not what the game is anymore, especially when this tip is pointed towards me.
You gain driving force with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So at this point, if the stab is coming in, if you know you've got a good stab opportunity, you can choke up on that, get that good grip, and it's going to be a lot harder to push this off of axis than it is if I'm doing this. Okay? Because the tip is much further away, right? It's a lot easier to move a sword. The further away it is from the fulcrum, which is where my hand is, it's a lot easier to move it off course than it is from here with that grip. So you see me do this, or anybody do this, they drop it in like this and drop it. What do you look for? Stab. And what are you going to do about it? Yeah, fade away. Right. You do not want to stay in line with this person.
Like an outside around my block stab is what I would from there to outside.
Exactly. The tip is
Make
slightly
them
off
move
axis.
their body, and you go that way.
Right. Yeah. Where should you go?
Lateral right.
Yes, this way, to your right. Move away from the pin pan. Don't give the pin pan a chance to start swinging at you. So if it's going to be there, there's going to be some weird juking, and then you should try to go to your right side. If your opponent is choking up right side. Make sense? Yep. Cool. Thank you. All right. So stance. Sorry. So that's at least down low. That's down for a stab possibility. But it's back here. Your arm isn't. I mean, I wouldn't worry too much about it. I'd try to get inside in that regard, and then watch for this guy. This sword tip is also really low. If we can close here, yeah, at least one of them in that regard. The problem with the tip, in my opinion, being low and forward, if you go ahead and lower it out, is I can bat it off course and aggress. So if you leave it that far out there, I might try a couple of these things and see what you're going to do, and then try and blast it out of the way. And as soon as I do that, I'm going to aggress. The minute this is off axis at all, especially to the inside, what have I just done? Yeah, if you're crossing like this side has no D, exactly. And this is my pimp side, right? This is where my attack side is. What have I also done with your presumably strong side? If I bat it off axis. Exactly, I'm jamming up your stronger side. You've got to get that out of the way to strike. And most people do this. If that sword crosses in front like that and it gets batted, most people do this. Because the fastest way to get it out of the way to drop this one. This is now almost useless. They can come up with this kind of stuff, but how often do we do this?
I scrunch in.
It's a desperation. It might work, but it is not by design.
Right. And then I am.
So again, if you can, same kind of thing, you can bat that thing out. If that weapon is out really far, and they're going to give it to you, bat it out of the way. Either knock it off course, you can either subtly knock it off course and jam them, which is actually pretty sexy, because if you can get in here and hold it there, there's not much they can do. They're going to try to attack with this back sword, but you're keeping all your defense over here. And they have nothing on your strong side. Yeah, you just start, you have free reign to start shooting with your right, or if it's left hand, left hand, left, or however you actually manage to do that.
Stay above belt.
Yep. Yeah, I recommend keeping that guy about there. You can do what you want with that. If you want to plan on stabbing, you can keep the tip down there, but that's okay. Remember to keep your knees bent, because if you go flat-footed, I should attack you. So I know we're just talking here, we have a tendency to just relax, but that can happen in a fight too. If you are just standing around for a while, say it's a tournament, it's the patient fighter is the one that usually can force the other person to make a mistake. So if I'm refusing to get in the range, and I'm just standing around, my opponent might relax, and that's when I should attack.
So a good fight step that I use.
So I think you're squaring up a lot. You're doing this, which makes stabs a lot easier. Either outside stabs or inside stabs. So I recommend dropping it, yeah.
That's all it really is. But since I have my sword geared up.
No, your sword is very vertical. Your left hand. I recommend bringing your hand out somewhat here, cocking it a little. Because if I can get in on that forehand and start wrapping for that hip, if it's straight, it's a lot easier. If you cock that out just a little, it's a lot harder. Now I'm going to wrap for the arm because they're carrying the top. Does that all make sense?
Yeah.
I'm going to move on at some point to shield and to pole towards the end of this stuff, because you're going to engage a lot of shield pins here. And you're occasionally going to advance on poleman. What's the issue with Florentine on pole? Yeah, what's not the issue with Florentine on pole? But that's a whole other pit we're talking about. All right? Normally at this point, unless you have questions, I start going into some one-on-one observations.
Okay, I would like on the sword manipulation where you bat my sword into me this way. You say a lot of Florentine fighters.
Once it crosses, if you leave it
get
out,
it out of the way.
Right, to get it out. Instead of leaving it 45, I can get it up to here.
I understand. What I try to do, and correct me if I'm wrong, should I not here block out?
That's a lot better than
Is
drop.
that a good option? Do you block down like this?
If I have to,
okay.
Well, most of my blocks are going to be this kind of stuff. But if things go,
like I said, if you sword manipulate my sword, I want to block my left side of your right.
A lot of people do this and just advantage. Okay. They don't use it enough. But yeah, if you're in that position where it's gone bad, you don't want it to go from bad to worse. Doing this kind of thing is way better than just losing the arm.
I find myself doing a lot of blocks like that that keeps me out of trouble and because of my opponent's height. So.
Right. And what should you do should that happen? What should you do as well as that?
Well, whenever if I do get in that position, I'm always on the back. I'm on the retreat.
Exactly. Monkey egressed. When things aren't going your way, don't stay and fight. If it's not your fight, get out. And you'll have a couple of people that will say stuff about stay and fight or don't move around so much. F them. Just you fight your game, right? There's no rule about you're not cheating. I mean, there's nothing even remotely inappropriate about it. You fight your game, and you don't ever fight theirs.
If they don't like it, they'll shrink the ring.
Right, they'll shrink. Something will happen. They'll either adjust their fight or whatever. But
I was talking about the people that don't like it. Will make the rings.
Exactly. If it's being read in that regard, they'll try and make it smaller. They may try and say, don't leave this area. But until that happens, you take advantage of everything that's at your disposal.
Your opponent will never not want you to make it your way because that'll make the fight longer, right? You think?
Yeah.
I think it's other people is what I'm saying.
Yeah, usually observers. But
what the hell?
Right, and your opponent may become frustrated with not getting to fight, a lot. You fight smart. That's not necessarily fighting hard, you're fighting intelligently. So if your opponent's doing one thing in particular, don't let he or she do that anymore. Don't give it to him. If they're sniping at your leg, don't give them the leg. Stay away. You can take a higher stance, switch legs, whatever. Yeah? Mm-hmm. All right. So I'm going to have two people fight, and we're all going to observe. We're going to watch generally 3 fights. Everybody's going to observe what they see happening or not happening, what's going well, what may not be going well, adjustments that can be made. And we're going to talk about it. This is not judgment time, so don't take it personally.
So can we also, when we're doing that, you had mentioned the other when I'm very much this way. I would like to
work on laterals. Sure. Normally what I like to do is fight some, and then we do some more of that kind of work and see what changes in the fights that follow. So we may want to work a little bit that way since there's some rocks. From here it looks like your heel's on the ground. You might have your weight on there to be deceiving, but it looks like you're flat-footed. What else? They're both pointing very forward. Possibly, yeah. They are still at range. Nobody's in immediate attack. What else?
Her right arm is locked. She has to retract in order to swing. Right arm.
Your right arm is out. It's like you're. It looks like, yeah, it looks like you lock arms or like a lock. Anything else?
Okay.
Because I see right now, it looks like your knee is locked up. Granted, I said stop, so maybe you locked up there. But your knee is back and not bent. Another thing I observe on both is very limited. So, no, you weren't very square at all. The shoulders were very your feet are very together. Looking at it from front to back, right in the line to your right heel, almost touch the same thing. Now that's just something to keep in mind. What's happening here is a one-on-one fight, like a tournament fight. And those tend to start very linear. So you tend to have a very narrow stance. But be aware of it. The minute you engage, you need to actually start preparing for lateral movement and the possibility. Don't keep it two-dimensional. What happened? Wait, something just happened.
She squared off.
A little bit, but something. Why? There was a moment of squaring, but why?
She switched feet.
She switched feet. So what was she fighting?
She's fighting
Well, that's
match.
well. If she's a right-hand fighter, that's goofy foot, which is fine. But if you don't know anything about your opponent, you both square up as is. What is your first thought?
Are they lefty?
Right. The lefty analysis piece for a Florentine fighter is critically important. I mean, you can get a long way in this game without it, but against borders in particular, the problem I've seen more higher end fighters, Florentine fighters have fighting Florentine borders, is not consciously recognizing that they're a lefty. And they're going to have lefty bag of tricks, and you're going to be using your righty bag of combat, and they're going to hit you 3 or 4 times, and you're going to be walking away going, God damn it, why did I die again? Right? It all changes when you start to recognize they're a lefty. Harder to do with Florentines, but still possible. This is the analysis of, they square up the first time you fight, that looks like a lefty. So expect left side attacks. Leon. One more. And another.
So you're looking at flat. I think you're not very confident.
All right. You saw what?
Walk out.
Where? What? More detail.
Third one, this guy came in.
And no defense.
Right. He parried out and jammed.
May I touch on flat blade fighting is totally different than round blade fighting too. So his chop, might be all that he has too. So I just want to. You don't have the flat wraps that you do with a round sword. Kind of substitute flat blade fighting.
Very different. You seem very offensive with just one sword. The other one is kind of stationary.
Yeah.
Your left hand became like a planted blocking surface. You kept it out there, which works to a degree, but if you're not going to use it to aggress again, you're basically limiting half of your attack.
That third fight, she did take advantage of his open chop with the left hand.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. There was one stab for all those 2 fights. There should be a little bit more, I mean, in a sense. Not because, well, it's the right thing to do because that's what Florentine's weak on. It's just to look for the stab. You shouldn't ever take a stab just because it's what you want to do. You should take a stab smartly. But generally speaking, you'll see more stabs in Florentine fights. Well, you should see more stabs, I guess. Okay. Anything else?
Is flat-footed at the last right before the attack. You're flat-footed, and then so you were good in good stance, and then you went flat-footed, and then you went. Right. So if she was paying attention, she could maybe come and force you off the ground.
Right. Yeah. As soon as the feet go flat, remember now is your chance to attack somebody. As soon as my feet are flat, I have to spring up before I can actually either get out or aggress myself. So try to, if you want, especially as you get closer and closer into combat, you've got to make sure your legs are spread. Another one thing I noticed too is, at least in those last 2 fights, you were doing a lot of dropping your lead shoulder, which is, you're doing this a lot, which is, in my opinion, it actually makes the shoulder an easier target because you just get it a lot forward and you don't have as much defense. It's a lot harder to actually keep you out of the left side. So I recommend actually don't lean quite so much. It's like you want to make sure you get your good hand in position, but you're sacrificing your left side. Make sense?
Yeah. I also noticed they both kind of wanted, like, after the first night, they both were kind of like, I want to aggress. Neither was kind of like, I'm going to find you out.
They're a little more comfortable.
Yeah.
So they go.
And you're going to fight your fight along the way. I mean, you're going to have a style that's your own. And the thing is that with the chess game of it, your good fighter will start to try to analyze that. What have you done the last 2, 3, 4, and 5 engagements? Are you comfortable with this? This person always leads right foot and like right arm, so I'm going to try and either take advantage of it or at least make you uncomfortable. Right? If this keeps working.
That's why I stabbed him, because he was high.
Yep. And he got it. Cool. 2 others, please. Square off.
Back.
If I miss, I'm still alive to fight. They're trying to get elbows. You may get that if you're not fast.
What did you see? No one saw anything?
I saw that Dragon, you did good on that third fight. You kept up. The second fight, you were almost, it seemed like you were fairly flat.
Nothing further?
Blue's guard on his right side was raised. I would have pressed a little bit harder on that to try to get that hit.
Anybody notice anything regarding the stance on the third? Like,
They kept switching.
through the whole fight, so I'm glad someone noticed. Dragons switch an average of, stance is an average of 3 times a fight. You switch twice before each fight, before you can engage it. Why?
We're off the opponent.
It could do that. Why did you switch?
Anticipating movement.
I kind of see what they're doing, prepping up to the fight. And like, I've learned to just kind of throw shots from wherever, and so I like to like think about like where their stance is, adjust it so I can like calibrate a whole bunch of like a range of shots. It's like comparing different shots in there.
Sure. Ranging is a good opportunity. Read the fight. How are they going to respond to your actions? Some people don't do that much. If you want to see someone's hand matching, switch your legs. Just walk up in one stance and start your thing, and then switch up to another real quick, and back out to the third. If they match you every time, they're hand matching. So now you know they're hand matching, and you should respond accordingly. Expect certain responses. Expect certain attacks. Anything else? Third fight. Where were your swords? Do you remember?
Yeah. I had this one up. This one right here.
What does that say?
I wanted him to swing here.
Yeah. And what did you want to do?
Well, when I was here, I was going to come in like that.
So you wanted to come in and stab. So where was that tip?
Pointing at him.
Exactly, it was pointing at the opponent. What should you read on that? He wants to stab you. Did you?
A little. I can't, like, from his shoulder placement, that's what I saw. Because I don't really look at the hits.
Okay, what happened to the fight then? I mean, there was the plan, and the plans are great until they encounter the enemy.
Yeah, the plan went away really quickly.
Yeah, I kind of like...
I had to sweep his sword.
Right, and you did. But it's more the observation that pointed out you did. It's not that anybody did anything wrong. It was really just an observation of what did you do, what should you have tried to see, and then it happened. No one got stabbed anyway. But that's how the fight started.
Yeah, whenever someone's like trying to hand match me, I try to like take it back because like if you're not hand matching and it's just like he's going, you know, he's like opposite of me, that gives more lateral movement, and then I can actually see like what kind of combos he's gonna throw, how he's gonna react to certain shots. But if he's hand matching me, it's not the same for me. Like I feel like what the f is this guy doing?
Thank you very much. 2 others, please.
I would take it when Dragon
You shouldn't, yeah. Don't hate it, love it.
Well, it's like, I'm not coming. No.
Yeah, but that's what he wants.
I know.
So don't play his game, right? You know that he wants you to do that, so don't play it. We'll talk about it in a bit. That's true.
I don't want to
No, you're not.
overstep.
No, you're not.
You're more than welcome to try and drop the flag.
That was 3, right? What'd you see?
Whenever this guy goes to engage,
Let's say our names here.
when Typhon goes to engage, he leans way forward, and he was getting sniped like that.
What is that? What we generally call that a tell. Some kind of, you're going to attack, if it's true, if you're doing the same thing before you attack every time, it's a tell. So keep, if true, either stop doing it in a nutshell or adjust. Are you aware that you're doing it, or no? So if you're going to do those kind of things, keep those swords in position that prevent the snipe.
You're a lot more mobile. And it seemed like you were a little bit more fluid in terms of reading one line.
Anything else?
I noticed Breeder used that a lot for the kickback. Which a couple times just didn't seem necessary.
Maybe. If it mattered, if it prevented being killed, then it worked. If he was reading something that didn't happen, that happens too, in that regard.
Right off the bat, this guy wanted the uphill advantage. I don't know if anybody else has noticed. We're at an incline here, which also affected, what's the flat blade? What's your name? Rad. It also affected Rad. At the very beginning, you were flat-footed because you were facing uphill. So that could have had something to do with it as well. If y'all would have switched sides, it could have been totally different for your fight and reverse. Terrain has a lot to do with all of these fights.
So observing your fighting is arguably an advanced issue too. Knowing what you're going to fight is an advantage. Or at the very least, prevent your opponent from taking advantage. I mean, you may not want to, it may not be your thing to force yourself to take the high ground if there is such a thing. Or if there's sun out, where should you be if the sun is out and bright? Where do you want the sun? You want the sun at your back. Why? Yeah, your opponent has to look in. You may not want to do that. I don't blame you. You don't want to forcefully take it, but don't let your opponent do it to you either. Your opponent may not have the same set of standards as you, whatever that might be. So if they're going to move up towards the top hill, don't stay fighting them. If it's bad, you start to move laterally. You make them engage you on your turn. So back to the fight though, what happened? Anything else?
You have a lot of counter striking.
Yep, there's a lot of parry riposte. Anything further? Anybody switch stances?
Not really.
He was dancing.
Reader changed stances a few times.
I don't think Typhon has any left hip guard. Once you attack, you have nothing on your left hip. I noticed this last night while we were fighting too. As soon as you go to attack, you have no back block at all for this left hip side.
Well, we're going to drill. We're going to do a parry riposte drill after this. That should help work on those kind of things.
And that's something I noticed. Breeder waited almost for a shot from Typhon to come before he attacked.
Right, made Typhon make the first engagement. Anything further? All right, 2 more.
Nice. Talk to arm and leg.
What happened? Oh, saw what?
Just got caught flat-footed on the last one.
Yep.
Crick's did a lot of trying to feel it out.
Yeah, there's a lot of that feeling a fight out before going. It's an awful lot. Which is cool. That's helpful a lot of the times. What is your opponent going to do? How do they respond? What's your range? What's their range?
I noticed Crick, when he lost the right arm, that first fight, he went for the all.
Yeah.
This is basically okay, I gotta win somehow.
That's me reading monkey. That I'm in a fight that I'm outclassed in. So if I could go for that quick, at least take a Simo, I'm going to.
I'd say generally fights, once it goes that way, once you've lost a limb, it goes into the all-in, let's make this end now, which can totally work, or it becomes a very defensive fight. Yes. Whatever you're more comfortable with, whatever works for the environment. Anything further?
I'd like to just, whenever I came into the first fight, I tried to stay out of his range a little bit and snipe arms and come back.
The first fight was an arms.
The second fight, I tried to choke up and come in, which got me stabbed in the leg, but that was off arm. And the third fight, I tried to be a little bit more aggressive. I don't know if it paid off on you or not. Or saw anything. Oh yeah.
The fight started when it did you first. On the first fight? Yeah, the very first fight. I jumped out and not out of the coffin before that. Well, you switched, but you did something nobody else has done. You started to moving laterally, you go back and back to the right by a lot. Basically, that's the feel-out phase. That's what are they going to do? But it's the first time anybody's done anything laterally in the game. Which I approve of, for the record. For all that matters. That's cool. All right. Did that make sense? Did anything not make sense? This is really cerebral stuff more than it is anything else. All right. Does he want to fight? Yes. I think everybody's fought, yeah? Yeah. Oh, sure. Everybody watch. That's the important part. What'd you see? I wasn't hand-minting. Were you hand-minting?
Switched those stance a few times.
I switched stance, but it wasn't in response for.
Right.
We were swinging real windmill-esque on 2 of the 3 fights, I believe. You would start up and you would go like this instead of waiting and throwing shots. Your shots all seem to be real round.
What shot killed you? The under. That came in there. If anything, I was starting to maybe anticipate these overshots, widen my guard at the bottom, and then take advantage of the inside. Anything else?
No, that's on the first fight. That's kind of like filling you out, and then you were kind of like shifting your like in and out, kind of like changing which way you're going to be able to sprint.
Right.
So. Which is something I never see. I don't see anywhere in my game at all. I see changing and whatnot, but I don't see this anywhere. And so I was just like, oh, what's he doing? I noticed that in my head. I was just like, and I stopped and caught. I was like, what?
How might that have helped you?
Because it made me wonder what the attack is going.
Right. There's a psychological part of what is
Directional change.
The directions that you normally go from different stances that I'm used to. I was just going, okay, where can you go from that? Because I was expecting you to move quite a bit more.
To be fair, I wasn't doing it with any conscious purpose of trying to psych out my opponent, but it has that secondary kind of effect where
I'll move the fight.
don't get stuck in the trap of overthinking the fight. Right? When you think about it, be conscious about it, but you don't want to be thinking, what is he doing? Why is he doing that? Is he going to stab me? Should I respond with this? Because at that point, you're probably I didn't do it on purpose to psych out this stuff, but it may have had somewhat of an effect on it. Why would that have been the case?
Adjusting to the situation.
Sure. Yeah, fights are very organic. They don't stay static. I mean, it's not like a Sakata. It's one. It's very fluid. You'll see a lot of that, especially in the feel-out phase. What's going on? Who's where? Coming high to coming low. So again, I can't tell you block high, block low. You've got to feel it. You don't know. Anything further?
What was the reason for you shifting the feet like that?
Most of it was based on
Get it on the of what you've done up to this point.
Punches. I started with punches in that regard. So the first observation is punch versus non-punch. Make sure you be aware of it. The things, what can you do against punch? Okay. move their shield out of the way. Now, let's do that exact thing again. So you can go this. Exactly. You have all this huge target. Or you can go this instead. Exactly. A wrap. Not only, if you do that, and you should do that, if you get it successfully, you shouldn't just stand there. Move to your right. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm going to try and, if they're going to respond, it's this. But, yeah, move away from the striking surface. Yeah. You always want to hedge your bet, take advantage of it. That's where that lateral movement starts to help you. You move away from the sword arm on the shield like that. Like that. So those are the short versions of it. The punch shield advantage is I can block more aggressively out here, and I can actually start obscuring vision too. But yeah, that comes at a price as well.
And they also attack the incoming weapon with the rim of the shield.
Yeah, exactly.
Pop it out of the way.
Yeah. So there's the punch shield is going to be much more mobile about movement typically, but you have a lot of advantages about being able to get it off axis. Whereas the strap shield, as we were saying, tends to be a much more solid blocking surface up against the body, but doesn't have the mobility that the punch does. So as we were talking about, we were talking about the inside strikes, right? And you were saying that sometimes a lot of shieldmen do this kind of stuff?
Well, a lot of shieldmen like to use a slightly bigger shield.
Oh yeah, they
shoulders, yours covers your leg, shoulder, so you're
right.
defending against this outside. And I will anticipate that this hand moves very quickly.
Right.
Since you're leaving this side a little bit more open.
Right, I want to make sure, the shieldman, if like this, wants to leave room for his sword to get out. And if they're going to come this way, it's typically going to be in response to something. Say that happens, say you successfully strike on the inside and I'm not blocking with my sword for some reason, I'm doing this, what did you just do? Well, to me though, what did you just do?
Oh, I opened up your
yeah. There's this giant shoulder that just says, kill me, right? As soon as, if you can get that sword, the shield to move at all on the inside, if you can do that, that's exactly what you should do, is roll to the outside. For a myriad of reasons. One, now you have all my open, which is open more so because of that. Exactly, keeping the striking arm away, it's harder for me to strike. So if you're going to do attacks like that and roll the lateral, always roll to the shield side, because you're making it harder for them to do anything about it. That's mobility to your advantage. Okay, I'll back up. I'm not saying don't ever go to the sword side, but if you're going to go to the sword side, you need to do it with either because you have a plan or because things are really, really wrong and you're adjusting on the fly. Because now they have a big shield surface and a striking surface right in your face. It happens. So when that happens, what do you do?
Get it out of your way.
Get what out of your way?
The shield, or the shield.
Okay, say you can't. Say you've done it. Say we've gone sword side and we're on this stuff. I'm not doing it. What do you do? What do you do?
Come and go.
Big old bear hug.
You can try that.
I block you out.
Say it's not working. Say it's not working. What?
Then I pull out.
Exactly. If it's not going your way, get out. Egress. You have all the opportunity in the world to start it again, but start it on your terms. The sword fighter, the board fighter's generally going to be comfortable with just smacking the shit out of stuff as it comes in. They've got this whole passive surface to block it. So if it's not working, don't stick with it. Don't throw good money after bad. Just get out. Yeah? All right. You want to fight? Well, you guys want to fight?
Question.
I'm hoping you do, but yeah.
I want to go over flow on 4, blocking that underside stab.
Oh, this guy?
Yeah.
I mean, excellent. Good point. Let's come over here so that we can see this. Sword's in. So when you're fighting a border in this regard here, and the sword disappears, what's happening?
Stab.
Chances are really good. If you can't see that sword, it's probably just came back here somewhere. It's tabled up underneath there. So you need to be aware of either like the dark side as they call it, or some kind of like underneath stab in that regard. When that thing disappears, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Yeah. I don't want to engage. When I see that sword disappear, why should I play the board game's game?
I press. Sure. I mean, that might be level of fighting, but I see his sword go under. I press right here, so I can catch if it comes out. I'm pushing down already with his shield.
So it's already parried.
Yeah, I'm already pressing there, so he has to come up for a block or a shot from this way. So I'm already pressing for that stab, dark side, whatever, with my left hand, and crossing with my right and trying to get in.
Exactly. Because what position does it leave me in?
Your shoulders exposed.
Yeah, I have no defense on my right.
If you're already way down here and he's got that block, you have to come back up here to get a shot.
And by that time, I notice his shoulders moved back up and his sword's coming back up too.
Right. But there's an opportunity for a strike on that sword arm when it's down like this if you've got it. So they're both valid. I normally get out, but I also have monkey arms. So I have the range thing on my hand, to my side. So I would either, if you're not comfortable with it yet, get out. When that sword disappears, it's got to be a get the fuck out, don't play their game. Or like Monkey said, you can take the advantage and try to really press hard, right? So if it happens, you've got to commit immediately. If you wait more than like half a second, in this game.
It's really a quick decision. As soon as that sword disappears, I know where it's coming from, either right in the middle or a dark side on the left, or yeah, your left. And I try to get both of them passively blocked with this sword just here or just sliding it.
Yeah.
That's my plan anyway.
To me, it's muscle memory. As soon as you see it happen, you just respond. It's not. There's no time for really thinking through it in that regard. Just do it and strike. Does that make sense? Yeah. Feel comfortable with it in that regard? Disappears, and you either, yeah, exactly. So then I got to block going on. The follow-up strike is probably going to be, you need to strike there, and I'm probably going to be doing this. So if it happens, it's a chess game. So it's the first move, right? And you get that sword immediately out to start blocking and strike. So it probably looks more fun. I've also seen some people start doing this stuff with the tapping crap.
And turning your shield to your sword side too and doing this.
Exactly, yeah.
Because the Florentine is now going sword
yeah,
side.
exactly. If it happens, yeah. It becomes this really weird, they're flailing around trying to get your legs thing or hips. They're just trying to table up and do this kind of thing and back off. They don't have very good visibility when it happens usually. Right? It's a mess when it happens, so it's either take advantage of it or get out. Right? The other thing I always advise trying to key off of is color. This might not work too terribly well. So the shield is a certain series of colors or patterns, and when you see something that isn't that color, you can hit it. Yeah. And that's usually a shoulder. And get used to this. Train yourself to the point where as soon as you see not shield, you swing it. Occasionally it's going to be a bait, but it's a really risky bait for a shielder. Because if I screw it up here, if I've got this here and I don't get it up in time, if that's all I can do is get it up in time, I'm dead. I may get a Simo at best, but I'm still dead. So as soon as you see not shoulder, or excuse me, not shield, you hit it. And the advantage is entirely yours as a Florentine fighter on the right side, because you just post out. You just keep this sword from doing whatever I was going to do over here. Now you have a right hand with free reign on someone's side and back. And which way should you roll? Absolutely, sword side.
Sorry, what did I hear you with last?
This, if I need to. Exactly, twist me up.
I don't really remember.
Another thing to be aware of too, when you actually aggress on a board fighter, a lot of the time they'll plant themselves in the ground really to soak it. And that means they generally aren't going to move as well, and they're not going to rotate as well. They're going to start to pivot. Once you get them off about that single axis, they can't physically pivot anymore. So again, keep rolling. They're going to have to bring up that foot and rotate, but keep rolling. Yeah? Make sense? Does it help? A little bit. Yeah. It's going to be something where you practice. The more you practice it, you're going to have to feel it more than you know it. That's probably the way it is. As soon as that sword disappears, it's the stab, it's that dark side thing. And occasionally when they get used to a good boarder who sees you doing that a lot, he's going to go this and come back up. Yeah. Then now it's a bait thing, now it's chest.
Or I noticed whenever you were anticipating the stab way too late, you'd come up and you'd wait for his sword to come down, but you were already committed to this block for the understab. Right. All he had to do was fake it and then gun stab you because your sword was already pressing down. Okay. So I try to catch it right as the tip is coming out. So my sword is already right there. So if I don't catch it and I catch it up here, I can still get it one way or the other. So I try to make sure that stab is coming underneath before I press it real hard.
So you're waiting for that contact to get the sword out of the way.
Kind of, yeah.
And it's the chess game again. It's what part are you committed and what part are they committed? If you take the counters class, Arthon will show you this pumps fake that he does. That's that same thing where he tries to actually get somebody to actually commit to it and then stab through. Specifically against Florentine fighters. Yes. I know. Any other questions? Anything you want to see specifically?
Yeah, we went over the weaknesses of the punch. What are the weaknesses of the strap?
Mobility is the big thing.
Just the mobility.
Generally, it's going to stay right here. It's not. They may move it like this, but this is really all the movement you see with a strap. The occasional random this thing, or something weird. Right. But that's a really specialized spin attack that they're going to do, or a block when they're running away, kind of a thing. And if they do that, what do? They're running.
Take their leg.
Yeah, you start swinging those legs. What is the shield's weakness? What is any shield's weakness? Yes. Exactly. So what do you want to do with that shield? If that board is not moving the way you want it to, you want to move, right? Yeah, you want to move, but I'm not committed to you. What do you do?
Sweep the leg, Johnny.
There it is. There, yes. If they're not going to play your game, if you can't get them to do what you want them to do, put them in the ground. take a leg. Make it, now you fight on your terms, right?
Because then you have all the movement they have now.
Exactly, their mobility's gone. Now, don't fight, again, don't fight foolishly, don't be overconfident. I mean, you have all the advantages, certainly, right? But a good board fighter will be very, very patient and will wait forever for you to do something wrong. So once you have them on the ground, you've got to do everything you can to not fight, to fight your game again, right? You guys want to do any ground fighting regarding it? It's not really complicated stuff. It's mostly just conceptually. I mean, you can circle around and you can corkscrew them, which is mean, but you can do that. And you want to see if they're going to respond. My advice is to arm seek, because they can't move it on you. They've got one striking surface. Yeah. Just bait something. Bait carefully. What's the risk with baiting?
They're going to get you.
Yeah, sometimes the fish gets the bait, right?
Your legs are way exposed when they're low.
Yeah. Yeah, if I'm down here blocking it up like this stuff, what are you going to worry about?
Them sweeping my leg. If they sweep my leg,
exactly.
Then it's back to what we were doing before. But now I can't move at all, and they have
exactly.
More
exactly. All the defense is here. So you got to fight your fight. You got to make sure that I'm not fighting mine. I'm not going to come after you for everything. I'm going to wait. There you go. Right.
I actually tried to get them to swing at my leg first.
Yeah, it's
trying to take their arms.
If you're down, my first step will be my leg coming in. And so I try to do this. So I try to get right down with that block. And so from here, I got an arm. And then if he retracts for a block, I've got this right step, which is past him to this side. Exactly. So, I mean, he won't just stop on that one shot, though. He's coming back afterwards.
But that's the concept of sound.
Yeah.
And it also, you know, I cheated. He just told me what the technique he was going to use. Right. So how can you not? But that's exactly right. It's just make sure you fight your fight and plan it. You know, either mobility or range, all of the above. I also advise arm seek, like we were talking about with the bait. If you can get me to swing at range, foolishly, at you for some reason, like at all, you target it.
And the left hand would be best because your left hand forward
is already
doing this.
Yeah.
So that way everything's still going the right direction.
And what did he do with his legs? Right, I call that flamingo. The flamingo kind of thing. Absolutely, it's this leg out thing, and it looks like it's sweet, especially for board. They really, really want this leg. And as long as your weight, it looks very appetizing, but none of my weight's on it at all. So when it comes, you see that movement. It's actually a step back in here into the air, and you just smack them over the tip peg. Yeah. So and boardmen will do it if they can't get anything else. So will Florentine. It works for anybody. You guys want to do any fights against board or not?
How do you feel as a Florentine fighter against manipulating the sword and shield sword?
Oh, absolutely.
Say I'm fighting right-handed and your sword's not behind your head,
right,
and I'm this way.
Absolutely. Yes, I should absolutely do that. If that sword stays out more than that, like 6 inches, if you can hit it.
Catch sword and shield guys like this, and so I'm saying is here.
Yes. Okay. Anything. Yeah. If you can take advantage of it. If I'm not striking you, when you aggress on me, if that sword stays there, absolutely take it out of play.
A lot of patient boarders will just keep that.
Right. Wait.
Hold that.
Right. Yeah. And if you can do it, and if you're going to do that, where should you be striking? If you're going to move my sword, where do you want to hit my sword?
On the arm side is what I'm going.
No, I mean
on the
where
tip.
on the sword? If
you're at the tip.
Yes.
The top part.
The furthest away from my hand you can. You have the most control that way, and I lose the most. So if it's up there and out, smack it out of the way, or pin it, jam it, whatever it takes. You've got 2 weapons. The boardman has 1. Use it to your advantage. Yeah. So that leads, because most fighters are right-hand dominant, most fighters want to use their right hand as their sole striking surface, even with crossbody, with high crosses and the shield inside. And it's not that you can't do that, it's just that it's the harder way to go about achieving it. If you've got the 2 swords, Florentine or especially boardman in that regard there, I have 2 weapons here. Why should I be doing this all the time? Unless I'm soaking a strike here. That's me blocking and then hitting. At the same time, I can just do block strike. So if you swing on that side, I don't have to do anything. If it's that same one, if I block it right, I just drop. Just go, that's it. You don't have to do anything special with it. I don't have to cross. If I cross, what am I doing?
Exposing your right side for her left.
Exactly. I have no deep.
You're blocking your left.
Exactly. I have nothing on my right side, and now my left hand can't do nearly as much as it was able to do. So you'll hear some fighters say, don't ever cross. I don't believe in never crossing. I just mean, I believe in crossing with purpose. If you're going to cross, do it because you mean to cross, not because you're just weak on your left. So to that, or your right if you're lefty. So to that end, you want to get better with your off arm. And the only way you can do that is just by fighting with the top.
You could actually take a sledgehammer and smash your dominant hand.
So,
I mean, nobody wants to lose. Nobody's going to.
That's exactly right. So
left.
to segue on that, every good fighter I know that's gotten good with their offhand got good because they screwed up their strong hand, and myself included. Everybody, we either fractured our right hand or our wrist or something to the point where we physically couldn't do it, but we weren't going to stop fighting because we were retarded like that, and we just fought left hand, all the time. And you get better with it. Let's understand that when you do that, you are going to lose a lot. I mean, it sucks. It's not fun.
Well, you have no other option.
But you don't. Yeah, your option is not to play, and that means you're not getting any better and you're not having any fun. So keep doing it. Those first, I'd say 3 months of fighting offhand, if you have not done it a lot, are going to be awful. But you're going to start to see improvements after that.
Headshots and throat stabs.
Yeah, and just flat misses and bad blocks. Just do it. The other tool I can recommend is this thing called a Dynabee or a super gyro. So it's a gyroscope inside of a case that you get spinning, and as it spins faster, as you rotate it around, it spins faster from the gyroscopic effect, but it fights you. So you end up working really hard, and it's working all of your forearm muscles, all of it. And it really helps with wrap shots, and it helps with blocks, with those out blocks when you're turning your wrist. Because not all blocks, you don't block like this, because you're gonna lose your arm. You block like this. Everybody see that? Everybody agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah. How does that help me?
Well, it's going to also the way that you soak up the shot.
Sure. But
You're also pushing into the shot at the same time too.
Yep.
So that gets all of your force going into your fist, into that shot.
Right.
And cuts off their plane of attack.
Exactly.
As well.
It makes it even harder in that regard. I'm kicking it out. So, and it actually works remarkably well. So one of the things I've done for the last few years is this weird kind of lure bait that some of you might have seen. I'll just hold my arm out like this, and I don't know exactly why. I haven't figured it out, but people really get bothered by it, and they want to swing. And I think it's a lot of the Amtgard training. We're used to swinging to our arms, and this arm's way out there. That's a really good arm to hit, right? But for some reason, they almost always throw this overshot, and you just keep raising it and raising it and raising it just a little bit. And the blocks aren't this. I can't block that shot from here. Monkey, if you choke. If I'm holding out here and I don't, it's just my arm, now it's gone. Now I don't move my arm, I can do that. And you're not hitting it. So the first 2 times they're like, why am I not hitting it? And then they get closer and choke. And you just keep doing that. And it's all in the wrist. So that's going to be a hit. That's going to be a block. And you see how it just keeps going up, and what's happened?
It's getting closer.
Yeah. There's something almost primal about this need. Hit it, God damn it, hit it, and then they just start doing this. And they advance, I swear to God. I don't know why, but it works remarkably.
Also, I'm quicker than you, I can get there before you can block.
And it's almost never true. Okay. I mean, we all think about it, right? Because even if my block is solid, it's not speed, it's 2 inches. Yeah. You have to do this, you have to do this, and that's it. And it's instinctive. I mean, when it happened, as soon as you started to swing it, I just immediately cocked my wrist up. And the same thing with out.
And then you started
always
it up.
And because they start to get closer, and it's higher, but even if I don't do it higher, I'm doing this kind of bend. My arm's getting lower. The surface that they want to hit is actually getting harder and harder to get to because it's just backing up. And they tend to get closer the whole time. It's strange, but it can be effective. But it's an example of where that blocking out is pretty important, especially in Florentine, because I think I was reading that. They found that in every hand-to-hand engagement, statistically like 83% of all attacks come from the outside, or lateral slashing type attacks, weapons or with hand-to-hand. So punches, kicks, even sticks. So with Florentine, their blocking surface is this area is the vast majority of it. We're really weak on thrust, but people don't use it enough. You got to keep your eye out for it. But almost everything comes out here. So if you know you can block this stuff really solidly, you just got yourself 83% of all attacks down. And it's going to help you to do this. You don't block like this, and you don't want to do this unless you have to. You just soak it with your arms. And as it gets lower, you just anchor into your hips. And it's really hard for somebody to power through that. They can get around it, they can use technique to evade, but it's very hard to blast it out of there unless they're using a 2-handed weapon or something illegal. Yeah. or as I say, or Amtgard. Maybe, or Kesgar. So yes, so every rule has exceptions. 83% except for a few people and a few techniques. In which case, you just don't play that game. Play a different game. Play evasion. Okay. Make sense? So anyway, the Dynabee or Super Gyro, if you can get it online if you really care. I used one of those things for like 2 years, and as much, off and on. It burns a lot, but I mean, your blocks and your wraps increase in strength exponentially.
Is it something you can use to, like, when you're sitting at the computer?
Absolutely, yeah. I used to work.
I'll do that.
Yeah, work at the computer. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to get one, the advice I have to you is don't use it for more than about 5-ish minutes at a time, regardless. The first day I had that thing, I was, how fast can I get this going? That's awesome. And I could not use my hands for 2 days.
You're like,
They were rubber. I could do nothing.
Counters and speed things you can put on them to see how fast you can get them.
Yeah, what RPM you can swing up to. So I mean, it helps. It's entirely up to you if you can want to do that. All right. Any other questions regarding any of this? So the other thing to keep on, it occurred to me with sword and board fighting. What's a really common attack that sword and board fighters like to use? High cross. What do you do against a high cross as a Florentine fighter? I mean, they really shouldn't be high crossing you in Florentine anyway. Sure. They shouldn't. Well, and most board fighters do it on other board fighters, so that's what usually happens. But it'll happen. They'll get used to it, and they just like the shot. And they may see some success with Florentine fighters.
You can bait a sword and shoulder to do it too by just lowering your right sword.
Yeah, just make me think
right here.
Exactly. So one of my favorites, if somebody else can take this,
I'll take it.
You would? Right here, by the way. So if they're high crossing and you know it's coming, or you've experienced it in that regard, you don't have, you can get the block here. If you can get the block, you've got a lot of strikes there. But one of my favorites really is just literally just block the sword here and roll it right down the arm. Yeah, it's remarkably simple, and you're finished. I mean, you just arm seek them out, and now you've got all this stuff. They've got to switch up and do that, or they got to get out and drop the board. But it's remarkably easy, and if you're even close enough, if it happens, it's just a roll. You don't even have to bring your arm down. You literally just let it hit and roll. You're just rotating your wrist. You just got to make sure it's solid enough. Like my arm didn't move. Make sense? It's really easy, but you got to be able to. Yeah, so you're jamming. You get this. Yeah. Let it hit your arm. Let it hit your sword. You're not blocking out. Let it come close.
okay, so
Cross.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, exactly. From here, not over the top, but on the inside. Yeah. Make sure it pops. Because a lot of times there'll be that slop kind of contact. If you just drag it down there, that'd be that slop. Yeah. And they're just going to keep following up. So make sure you've got it here. And I usually soak it with my elbow very close to my body. In there. And just roll it. I'm going to pull out, but it's bang. So just rotate that arm. And mostly wrist. Make sense? It's elegant, and it'll piss them off. They'll get very frustrated about it, and maybe they'll stop throwing it. There you go. Anything else? Right, do you want to fight? I'm sorry.
Well, there's one that as a sword and border I like to do against the flow is to, if I can get them to bait their, well, not stab. If I can get them to bait their arm up, is to throw that hack right underneath under that side. My squire always eats me alive because he will bait that edge and block it out here with this side,
right,
and then take my arm and snipe the leg in one smooth motion.
Right. I think of that as an arm seek. If you can get a boardman to ever get that arm out, I mean, shoot for the arm. That's when you should cross, because now I just soak the attack and hit the arm, and then like you said, follow up with the leg.
I'm just immediately right leg forward.
Sure, yeah, it doesn't matter either way.
Yeah, either way. Boom, boom.
Right across that thigh, and if you miss, you just keep coming in and doing this.
Because at that point they have to.
Right, if you've got that arm, they have to switch up weapons. If they're good at it, that's fast. Or they've got to drop the board and get the weapon in the other hand. But you've got a window of opportunity there where they don't have a weapon in a usable hand. And at the same time, if you can get that single flow in, that's great. I love the double tap. Just done. It's flat, flat. If they get it back out of the way, you just keep going, whatever it is. But you hit it once, right? And it's hard. If you've got it on point, you're going to get to it quick. Does that help?
what about that one where it's this and then?
Sparrow seeks in it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Broken wing, sparrow seeks in it.
You're blocking.
You gotta bait that more. I didn't know what right you were doing. Yeah, you
So, so you're coming in to block out while they attack? Sure. It's risky. I mean, if you do not feel really comfortable with it, it's going to base entirely on the skill of the fighters, right?
If I may,
go right ahead.
if you're gonna throw, I throw that shot a lot on newer players. If you're gonna do it, you want to dip that shoulder in more, so they want to throw for that shoulder, and that's where you come in for that shot. But really, only against fighters your class and lower, I wouldn't do it against him. He would tear up my elbow, or my hip is open from that moment as I bake this shoulder here. So now he has all of this as I'm trying to step and everything. So I would really only keep it your class and lower, because other than that, it's one, you're showing off, because there's no reason you should do more movement to get that.
Not very efficient.
Right.
And that's really what I was asking you.
It's a lot of movement to commit to a shot that is risky. It has lesser chance of success, but like anything, like spin shots, those don't work a lot of the time. But when they do,
it's one of those shots you keep in your repertoire and you pull out whenever, holy crap, I can probably pull this off on this person. I'm going to look good, Let's try it on this guy. Right. It might work 50-50. If it doesn't work, I learned something. Right.
You're just having fun, by all means, but it's a risk. So I wouldn't advise going into a fight with that. It's like advising someone to go into a fight trying to bite someone else. It's a really good way to lose your team.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, in a fight, the opportunity presents itself to bite, you can. Not in Amtgard, duh. But in that same kind of thing where you're using shots in situational conditions. I didn't plan on doing that, but this will work.
Yeah. So. Sometimes your sword just gets out there.
Yeah,
you
gets
throw
bound
an
up.
arm shot and it's just out there. You're like, whew. And so it just happens that you're trying to get that sword back after that arm snipe that missed or failed. So
you're welcome to practice it. We're not going to do it here. Any other questions? Any other things? I can go to pole, or you can fight board. Which would you like to do? Pole?
Fight board. Fight board.
I heard board. Board. All right. Get me to swing that shot. My arm's already out.
That's probably the first lead off I do with most shield guys, is try to get that sword out first. And if they don't fall for this here, I try to move from there.
Good. It's yours. What happened?
Huh?
What happened? So the last fight I left the sword out there. What did you do?
I pushed it back into you to get you to react.
Then what'd you do?
Then I just brought this over for like a good guard, and then I went skyhook.
That's exactly what you should have done. You took advantage of it as soon as you got it out of the way. Yeah. Perfect. What happened in the second fight?
The second one?
Where was my sword?
You had it back.
And then to what?
And then it disappeared, yeah.
Yeah. What's it disappeared?
It means
it didn't kill you. It didn't kill you, but it's just that. So you got out of the way, which is what you should have done. Successful.
Yeah, and then I had to move back to reset.
Right. All right. Anything else? Anybody see anything? Okay, another person then. We have more boards around here. One of them do this more, but I only have one around.
I have two.
What was that?
My sword was low.
Right. What did I throw? High cross. Remember to keep it up. It was fast, I know. The high cross is the thing you can take a lot of advantage of against Sir Thor, because they throw it too often. Once you're in a ground fight with a pole fighter, it's going to be hard. I usually come in as far away. So what I was trying to do was give you some of the opportunity.
careful on your transition. Because you got right here, transition right here. Square up.
Go ahead and fight monkey. Somebody else? Yeah, good. Hold on. So that's like 4, I think, this one. So, yeah. So I saw you throwing a lot of like user shots from within range of the monkey shot.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it seemed like you just sat there and waited.
I had the same call with him last night. I was fighting left leg